Welcome to the next episode.
Road to Wembley.
Yeah, come on. We'd just like to introduce Jesse Cook, who is a barrister, and we really appreciate that he came to sit down and talk to us. D?
Yeah, the bare minimum. Come on, my brother.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, appreciate that.
I'm trying to make you all. I'm trying to do a nice intro and all that.
Yeah, come on.
Like you ain't been acting all different off camera. As soon as the camera starts rolling,
You know what I mean? You have to act all professional on that. You get me?
You got to be a comedian in life. You have to be a
Trust me.
comedian.
Nah, I hear it.
For real.
I wanted to, obviously, before we get into your story, but I just want to ask one direct question about barristers, and before I get into the awkwardness of it, what is that wig? What's the wig about?
The wig, it's a tradition.
The blonde wig
basically,
thing.
that's hundreds of years old. And when you actually first get your wig, they give you a little booklet. So you get it from a shop in Holborn called Eden Ravenscroft, and you have a little booklet which explains the tradition of a wig in a quite quirky way. And basically, at first, it was used as an element of disguise because, for instance, if you were a criminal barrister and you're prosecuting criminals, that might be recompense, do you understand, or retaliation. But now it's just one of the traditions of a bar. It divides opinions, but a lot of people love it. I barely wear it these days based on the fields of law I practice. But if you're in the Crown Court or the High Court, you still usually wear your wig.
Okay. Well,
nice.
it's a disguise thing, basically. But it's in the valley.
It was back then, but now things are a bit different, and nobody really, unless you're in the Crown Court, it's part of the traditions, but nobody really wears it in other practice areas. Does that make sense? Apart from criminal law, like the High Court, where you're before, some of the highest judges.
Nice.
Yeah, the judges they always wear that, innit?
We appreciate you coming, man. Really, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, as you know, we know each other. Well, we've known each other for some years now.
Yeah, how do you not know each other anyway?
So me and Izzy actually first met when we were working at the same sports agency, the same football agency, many years ago now. And we clicked and we hit off, and even though we don't work for that agency anymore, either of us, we just stayed in touch. And it's been a family vibe since. So just like that.
For real.
And that's
But the thing I am most interested about, we talk about the situation growing up in urban areas and not having many choices in life. You know what I mean? We spoke about that in the first episode. You get footballers, musician, road. Not many more options than that, coming out from where we grew up, and you grew up in kind of the same areas as us. How did you become a barrister?
Yeah,
who did you look up to be like, rah, I want to be a barrister. You never really hear about that.
Yeah, it's funny because, like I said, I know you gentlemen are from East London, but I'm from South London, and like you say, similar areas in South London, which you might say are challenged in terms of the finances and in terms of some of the crime rates and things like that. But when it came to being a barrister, like everyone, I wanted to do what Izzy did. Really, I wanted to be a football player. Do you understand me initially? But I was always realistic in terms of thinking, look, football, music, film, whatever, are the options that are often pushed to us might not work. But I always said, and I had a sort of determination to say, if I wasn't going to be a footballer or something in the sports and entertainment industry, I was still going to be a very positive individual who was going to achieve something great and ultimately do something great. And from an early age, I thought my skill set and how I am with people, like you said, I can talk to all people from all walks of life, those who are from the higher echelons of society, those who are from backgrounds like where we're from, and I can build rapport and relationships with them. And I always said I was going to be a barrister. So it's something that I said, you know what, I'm going to work hard and I'm going to give it a go. And that's what
From what age though? You say you're going to be a barrister, what did you know about barristers? Did you see anyone to be like, okay, I want to do what that person does?
I didn't see anyone. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know any barristers. No one in my family circle were barristers or anything like that I know of. But I remember I had a meeting with, do you remember Connections? I don't know if you guys will remember from school. So Connections.
Yeah. That's like community links. Yeah, Connections like that. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, we used to go basically I used to go Scotland and play on the computers and all that. It's like that type of thing. They look and you look for work and
exactly,
stuff like that.
Okay. Career paths potentially.
Okay. Yeah, they come to your school and that. They come to your school.
Yeah, the Connections lady came to primary school year 5 or 6, and she left us a booklet and was talking about different career paths, and there was a website, and the internet was kind of a new thing back then, not a brand new thing, but it was do you know what I mean? It wasn't like
was it still dial-up?
How it is now, you got the big screen, the big full, everything in one. So I remember going online and I was thinking, there was a little quiz about, your skill set, what you enjoy, what you're good at. And I remember seeing a lawyer, then there was a solicitor, and there was a barrister. And I remember thinking, the barrister route sounds exactly what I could do.
Sorry, just to interject there. What's the difference?
Exactly, that's a good question. Yeah, lawyer, solicitor, and a barrister.
The line between them is becoming increasingly blurred. So you get a lot of solicitors that will now do the advocacy as well, which is actually go to court and represent their clients. But traditionally, a solicitor would mainly do a lot of the prep work, the paperwork, have a direct contact with the client, the lay client that is, so whether it was a business or an organisation or an individual person, and then they'd instruct the barrister who would go to court and speak in front of a judge or give them advice about maybe how to proceed with a case tactically and things like that. So a barrister's real expertise are advocacy, so oral presentation and submissions in front of a court or a tribunal.
The live part of it, in theory.
Yeah, precisely, traditionally, but it's becoming increasingly blurred like it is in America, where they sort of do both. But it's still, over here, there's still a distinct system.
Okay, but yeah, sorry, like you were saying that you were, what age you were talking about, connections?
Yeah, so it was probably from, like I said, I thought I'd start off in England playing for maybe, Palace. I always thought, South London boy, I'll play for Crystal Palace. And I thought I'd go and, I'd get bought by one of the big clubs, all the bigger clubs in the UK at the time, Arsenal or United, and I've said I'd probably go Serie A for a bit. And then I'd play for AC or Inter.
Right, you had your life mapped out.
Go Barcelona quickly.
I'd finish at Barcelona or Madrid. You know what I mean? Depending on
like your brother, shout out your brother, because he told me before off camera that his brother was playing football as well.
So big up to all of them, nothing but love. But that's what I thought it would be. But I said, hold on, just in case it doesn't quite go like that. Yeah, I'm gonna try. I want to be a barrister and work in football. So I knew I'd do something in football. Hence 4D Sports Group. Yeah. But I said, shout out 4D Sports Group. So then I became a barrister, and I eventually, when we left, the previous company we were working for, me and another barrister and some former footballers and just generally good people who work in education and mentoring and things. We set up 4D Sports Group. So we're still in early days with everything, but everything's going well. What I've said I'd achieve, I've achieved, and I'm achieving, if that makes sense.
Yes. No, good. For me, it's an interesting one. There's a lot of questions I want to ask you, but I don't know whether we can get into it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of disparity in sentencing for me. I wanted to kind of go into that because I had that situation. You know what I mean? And I thought the sentence that was given was quite high. So I don't know whether there's a black and white thing about it. So whether you have any stories about that situation, like sentencing for black people, sentencing for white people.
Is it different? Do you think it's different?
You know what? It's difficult to say. Firstly, I have to have a disclaimer that I don't practice in criminal law. So things might be changing or improving, but I do have experience of criminal law. And you know what? It's funny. I don't practice in that now, but that's why I initially wanted to become a barrister. So when you grow up in areas like we do, you see a lot of injustice. You see a lot of situations where you look and you think, hold on, that's not quite right, or that's not quite fair. And I wanted to be a voice for people and for underrepresented groups and underprivileged groups. But my experience was, and I don't like to ever say, it's just someone's black so they get a harsher sentence, someone's white so they get off, a lighter sentence. I don't ever think it's quite that simple. But the reality is that sometimes, especially if you've got young black people, depending on whatever the crime is, and the majority of the time they're appearing before white middle class judges who don't have life experiences that they've had, or they can't relate to them, or don't see any of them in themselves in them. It's hard for them to actually, not all the time, because I know some fantastic judges, there's some wonderful judges who are really fair, really balanced, but I mean it's hard for them to actually relate and understand where perhaps those younger people are coming from, or those types of people, because sometimes it's not even just about race, it's about social class and standing. So I know some white lads, for instance, who have come up in just as bad a situation as we came up in,
of course.
Their money wasn't there, they were on the block, they were in difficult situations, and they probably feel the same, that they've not really been given a fair crack at the courts. Does that make sense? But I've got, I think what you're probably getting at is in terms of direct examples.
Yes, so exactly.
And this is part of the reason I actually stopped practicing criminal law. I mean, I'm at a common law set, so we do various areas of law when you tend to specialise later. But I remember one example that particularly resonates with me was when I was out in court, in a Crown Court in one of the home counties, and there was a white gentleman who had been caught with a significant amount of Class A drugs, and not only that, he'd then tried to evade capture by the police. He had his young child who was weeks old at the time, and also his partner in the car, and he drove off from the police. He crashed the car. He then got out of the car and absconded. He didn't hand himself into the station until 2 days later. And we were sat in court, so it was like a sentencing morning where different sentences are happening. And the judge found a way. They said, he came up with a story about the fact that he had all this amount. He had like 5 ounces, close to 5 ounces of cocaine on him. His story was that he had to hold the drugs for his drug dealer because he'd run into some debt with them. Now, anyone from our background, just some knowledge of how things work, know that a drug dealer does not give a drug addict their drugs, especially cocaine, and it's not like crack or whatever.
He's in debt with them as well.
Yeah, he's in debt with them. They don't give them 5 ounces of cocaine to hold. It's only going to end one way. But anyway, the judge seemed to buy this, and he found a way to give him a suspended sentence. So he sentenced him to 2 years, which is a maximum he can give and suspend. And then immediately after, there was a young black lad who came into the court. And again, me and the other barristers are milling around waiting for our cases to come on. And he, essentially been done what we used to call it country back in the day, but they call it county lines now. And he got caught with just a few grams, so not ounces, just a few grams of Class A drugs, heroin, and it was crack. And his barrister really fought for him. A white middle class barrister really fought for him. And he was putting forward his mitigation. His life had been really, really difficult from the start. He grew up in care. His mum was a crackhead, ironically, and his father wasn't around. He had fallen into gangs and into trouble. He tried to go to college, but then had to leave college because rival gang members attended that college. And he was from a South London borough, which isn't too far from where I grew up. And the judge gave him 4 years. And I remember sitting there thinking, hold on. And I remember feeling my blood boil. I was the only black barrister in the room. There was like 5 or 6 other barristers waiting around for their case. And everyone, we're not stupid, like people are people. We all just look and we heard the previous case. And we thought, hold on, 5 ounces, absconded, crashed the car, a whole range of other offences and come out of, this.
Was it the same judge?
And same judge. Judge.
Right next after, one after the other.
One after the other.
That's all mad.
He gave this young lad 4 years, and this lad didn't have anyone with him. He was in some court miles away from his home, didn't have anyone with him. He had a baby on the way, part of his mitigation. No previous convictions, or just one previous conviction for an unrelated, nothing to do with drugs. And he gave him 4 years and talked about how county lines wouldn't be tolerated in that place or that area, which is fine. I get it. I completely agree. It's exploits young people, vulnerable young people, etc. Policy decisions behind it. But how can you find a way, to give someone just moments before?
Because he empathises with the previous guy.
That's the reason why. He came up with a story. He was depressed apparently. Okay, maybe he wasn't. I don't know him. But minutes later, you give double the sentence to a person who was 15 years younger than this guy, by the way. The black lad was only 19. The other guy was 34, 35.
Not double, because suspended, you don't go to jail.
No, you don't go to jail.
Yeah,
but double the sentence as well, the actual custodial term. If he breached it, he would be.
Well, yeah.
And it was. I remember just at that point, the judge then rose and he had a break before maybe reading the next case or whatever, and he went, and I've just felt myself getting a little bit angry, and I felt my blood boiling, like my temperature literally rising. And I remember just sort of saying, and I say that as loud so everybody could hear, the court clerk could hear, I said, how is that fair? And everyone just looked at me, and you could see everyone was looking at me in some sort of sheepish way. And lovely people, I'm not saying it's their fault, other barristers who were there fighting for justice or whatever. And I said, how is that fair? And people looked, and his barrister was kind of shocked, I think, taken aback. He was going to go and see him in the class. He just said, I don't know, I tried it. I said, no, I don't question that, but how? I said, we've all just seen what's happened. And the court clerk looked at me and said, and everyone sort of shrugged their shoulders. And everyone looked like, wow, you could really
What did the judge say, though?
No, he wasn't there. He'd left. I couldn't say.
Why can't you say if the judge is there, though? Why, though?
It's not my client, it's not my case. It wouldn't be a professional thing.
Yeah, but if you did say that and the judge is there,
No, it wouldn't be professional. I'd be contempt of court. All sorts of problems before.
So can you not get that?
Well, it wasn't my client. It's not my place to do that. So, but do you see my point? And everyone knew, and his barrister was visibly quite, shocked and upset. But that's when I realised, hold on, the emotion here. Am I being, because you as a barrister, you have to. No, obviously you deal with different cases and different areas of law, but you have to manage your emotions. And that was unlike me. Does that make sense? You know how I'm is. I would, I take my time. I'm easygoing. I'm not someone who is going to be, just unnecessarily confrontational or whatever. But I was.
That's not confrontational.
But it is. You're sat there
angry,
in a court. I was angry at that moment, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I mean, maybe the judge knew something I didn't, but I just heard the mitigation from both lawyers for their respective clients, and the other kid, for the kid, it sounded more compelling. Do you understand me? Than this guy who's come up with an absolute nonsense of a story.
And left his partner
and his new
baby in the car and crashed the car and ran.
Crashed the car and ran off. And he's escaped jail. And he had everyone there for him. His whole family were there. Everyone was there. He had people supporting him, people coming to see him get sent. And this guy had no one. It was literally him and his barrister. Do you understand me?
So do you think the answer to that then is that there should be more black judges then?
Well, there's a drive. I know there's a drive at the moment, and they're encouraging applications, not just in criminal law, across the board in civil areas of law, in employment. They're encouraging. They do want the judiciary to be more diverse, to be a judiciary to people that it represents. It's a very diverse population that we have here in the UK, and the judiciary at the moment doesn't reflect that. But in the first place, you have to have more black lawyers to then go and be able to go and be judges, for instance. And a lot of the time, people are put off for whatever reason and won't want to be. There are more now than there ever was, but even in my time of practicing as a barrister, so I've been going to court myself now, and things like, actually representing people in tribunals, in family courts for nearly 5 years now. And I think I've been in front of 3 black judges.
But just like there's not many people like you from the ends though. Like no one's gonna grow up. Like these are musicians. You know what I mean? I played football. Like, you know what I mean? We got friends that's, you know what I mean, do it on the other side of it. There's not many people. I don't know anyone here. I got a lot of friends from the ends that said to me, I want to become a lawyer, bro.
No one says that. Not only that as well. Do you know what it is? It's do you know what it is? Because with law and with like doctors and stuff like that, it's the time it takes, because you've really got to, even when you finish studying, you've now got to do another maybe 5 to 8 years of just work and studying again. But like how long does it take? Because you really got to put the work in. Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's the time it takes to actually get to the top, or not even the top, to actually become a barrister.
Yeah, you do. But again, it's and this is why. I mean, there's a wider problem with that. But for instance, me, for example, I had to be very focused and just stay in my own lane. And when I say that, you can't look at what other people are doing around you, because I had friends, like you say, from the road who I'm 6'4", and I used to drive a Peugeot 206. Picture that, and I'm
getting stopped all the time. You must be. Yeah. You must be getting stopped 24.
No, do you understand me? I used to drive a Peugeot 206. I'm 6'4", and that's all I could afford at the time. A Peugeot 206, because I was studying to become a barrister. So I went to uni. I went to be a barrister, and I tried to get a job because I had to pay back the loan and everything that I had to try. And I had friends who were, or when I say friends, more associates by that time, who were not working. They were on the road, as you say, and they were in Audi Q7s and BMW X5s. And I remember I had this debate with a friend of mine who we grew up together from we were knee high. And in a nice way, he was laughing. And one day he was like, he saw me pull up in the Purge and he was laughing. He was
not wrong with that.
No, but in a bad, like, cool. I said, bro, he said, you still got this car? And he said, I beg if you go anywhere important, because I know what you're trying to do, beg you just take my car. Yeah. And we had a little laugh, and I said, I would never drive your car, bro.
Yeah, because he's already flagged.
I said, I don't know who's after you. I said, you can keep that car, police, man them. I said, I'm going to be happy on my Peugeot. And we got into a conversation, because we were very, very close, especially when we were younger. And I said, so and he'd already been to jail once or twice by this point. Yeah. And I said to him, so what are you actually going to do? Because when we were young, he wanted to be a chef. He always wanted to be a chef, and he wanted to have restaurants, and he was one of the greatest cooks. Like, you can make tuna nice. When you cook up corned beef and make it nice. And I remember he turned to me and he said, Jess, you see, the difference between you and me is patience. He's like, you're the most patient guy I know. He's like, you're happy to drive around in that Peugeot 206. He's like, you see me, I want it. And I want it now, rude. Why? And that's exactly as he said it to me. And he said, and I need to get it now.
Wow, that's the problem.
No, but and that's the problem. And this is what social media encourages, all of this now mentality. And that's what I mean. So it is hard work and it does take time. But now it's harder than ever because everyone's watching everyone. You can see someone on Instagram or Twitter and think, oh, they've got their life must be wonderful.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, look at that. Look at the car they drive. Look at the house they've got. Look at their holiday to the Caribbean they just had. No one knows what they're going through. That only gives you a small snippet.
Yeah.
Whereas people want that. Now everyone wants to go on Love Island and hope to be a Z-list celebrity by the time. Do you understand? Some girls, some nightclub. No one wants to put in hard work like how we put in hard work these days. So there is that element, but it's about just having a strong mentality to be able to block out the noise and really pursue your long-term goal. Does that make sense?
It depends what your goal is, though, innit?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I always had a goal.
What was your goal? Was your goal money? Because a lot of the time, growing up where we grow up, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So for you, it was probably to help.
Listen, money is important, and when you've grown up without money, not like I was like really poor, whatever. You know, I'm grateful. Like my mum and my aunties were fantastic. Do you understand? And even though I look back now and I think, oh, you know what, we didn't have that much money. They never made it seem like that because they didn't have a poverty mentality. Do you understand me? They always had a positive mentality, more glass half full rather than glass half empty. But for me, it wasn't money. I always thought, you know what, I need to earn well and I want to be able to help people around me, my family, my loved ones, my friends, and take care of the community. But I always, like I do with all these sports groups, I never chase money. I always say, if we do the best job properly, just like as I do in my career as a barrister, if I do a very good job, an outstanding job, and
the money will
help
come.
my client, but money will come. But people don't realise that anymore. People aren't patient. Everyone wanted the money yesterday or last week.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Yeah, I've never chased money. I've always said the money will come because of how I operate and how I deal with people.
Just a mindset change is what you're saying.
A mindset change. It's a mentality.
That's the aim. How do you then, as a young black man coming from, because we'll come from the same thing.
Yeah.
And we'll come from the same. How would you? I wouldn't say advise because it's not hard to advise, but what would you say is the best way to get a young child now or a young boy into that field and for him to feel like he's got value out of it? Like, what is the reason why he will get into your field? Because
I think it's important to have, and not everyone has this here, but good people around you and to be a leader and not a follower. Yeah, so you've got to be brave in your decision making. Does that make sense? And your decision making has to start from your growing up where we grew up. I had to start making decisions at 13, 14 years old to say, okay, I'm not going to do this or I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to follow my friend to that party because I know what's going to go on at that party. I'm not going to follow my friend to Croydon because I know he's always got something with him that he shouldn't have. I'm not going to follow my friend to Brixton High Street with... do you understand me? Because I can't be with individuals like that. So even the friend I was telling you about with the car, we were as close as anything. And then when he started to go his way, and even now he's in jail for a very long time. And I haven't been to see him. Because I told him, I tried to bring him with me on so many occasions, and he just didn't want to come. He wanted to do what he wanted to do, so I had to let him go. But it was a thing of, I started to make decisions, and even I wasn't perfect. So even at 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, I was still making maybe bad decisions. Yeah. But I started to really think about the consequences to look into the future. Does that make sense? And to start to say, okay, if I'm with so-and-so and he's got problems with people over there or people over here, and they might just think, I've got nothing to do with it, they might just associate me with it, I can't be seen with him in certain places. Does that make sense? Or if he carries this with him everywhere he goes, what happens now when I'm 18 and we're in my car and he's got that with him and we get stopped? And where we come from, for instance, no one tells tales. You couldn't tell on your friend if you both got stopped with something and no one took ownership. You couldn't tell. So how do you avoid that situation? What I did was not be in that situation with him. Does that make sense? He'd never be in my car. You know, I'd never have a situation where me and him were in a car and he had anything on him or something. Does that make sense? And that's what you have to be conscious about. So to get into the field, you have to, pursue your dreams. Pursue your dream of being a footballer. Pursue your dream of being a rapper or whatever, but always realise there's more than one way to make it.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. That's why we're having this conversation, because there shouldn't just be those two options. But all three options, or if you can't be a footballer, if you can't be a musician, then the road is the only way. Like, we should have so much more options to do what we want to do.
Well, of course. Well, the thing is, we do. So even now, like, I'm a social mobility advocate for the Bar Council. I've spoken at events. I've attended universities. I've attended joint events with the Bar Council and the Law Society to speak to people from underprivileged backgrounds to show them, to be that example of a fact is actually, yes, you can do it. Does that make sense? I have people reach out to me on LinkedIn, for instance, and saying, can you do this or do that? I can't get back to everyone all the time, but I always try to help where I can. Does that make sense? I try and be a visible, and even that's funny because I'm not someone who likes the limelight like that. Do you understand me? I never wanted to be out there in the limelight and be that guy. But now I realise it's actually important for people from our demographic
to see you,
to see us.
100%. They need to know. They need to see that they can get there.
Can.
That's the only way. That's the only way a young boy from down here is gonna even think about it. For him to hear this conversation, for him to hear what you went through, that you went through the same things that he went through, or was around the same.
But I think visualizing is very important though, just because growing up as a young boy, like you said, where we grew up, we get up in the morning, like we bathe, get ready, go to school. Right, we come back to our council estate. Right, that's all we know. Yeah, but when we grow up, we see there's difference. Yeah, because we do better for ourselves and we move out the area and we see like better things and we think about our childhood. We're like, rah, like we really went through it. Because then we become friends with other people. You go to their area, you go to their house. You're like, bro, this is how you grew up.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean. So like a lot of the, I don't know, not just the black kids, the Asian kids. Like a lot of the people who grew up in the urban areas, they really go through it, and I don't think they understand how like. If they do well and come out of it, they've done really well for themselves.
But
like,
it's normal to us. Like
yeah, that's all you know.
Yeah, it's normal. For me, I was from when I was younger. When I was young, 15, I was the first person that I knew that went cunt. It wasn't. No one planned to go cunt. I met an older person, man, are moving and mixing, and we're doing certain things, selling certain things, but it wasn't a plan.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know it was these times. I didn't know it was country. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm just going out doing what we're doing. We're just doing it. But this is literally what he was doing. Yeah. And I'm now in the car. We're moving and mixing. Now I'm doing it.
Yeah.
That's that. It's not something that people plan, or it's not something that you try to do. A lot of the time, it's just what you're around and what you see.
Yeah.
So what I think the issue is that we need to see and be around different things.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Right, and that's where I think the mentoring is really important. So even, like I say, with 4D Sports, we've got mentors or someone who, in particular, who is there to mentor the kids. I've mentored children, some to varying degrees of success. I mentor all the time, even not even officially, just even unofficially. It's just something I do. Like so many parents from where I grew up will always ask me to speak to their children, speak to their 13, 14-year-old, 15-year-old child who might be acting up because they say, you know, you had the same circumstances, just or similar circumstances, and you turned out really well. Do you understand me? And you have varying degrees of success. So some I've tried to get people out of gangs. Sometimes they don't want to go, or for road life. Sometimes they don't. Others do, and they want a way out. So that's what's really important. More of us, we need more mentors within the community, especially whether it's South London, East London, wherever it is. And you're right, we need to stop normalising things because you use that word, things are normal,
it's
right?
Normal, yeah.
I had a situation a few months back, last year now, where one of my friends said to me that he was getting counselling, and I said, I came up with him from we were 11, 12
That's amazing.
years old. No, but it wasn't amazing to me at the time. I panicked. I said, what? I said, bro, I said, what's wrong? I said, do you need anything? Do you need me? I said,
we need to normalise counselling.
No, but listen to this. My point was, at the time, I was just worried because I thought I don't want him to do anything crazy or mad. Like, what's he going through? So I said, bro, are you sure you're all right? I called him. I said, are you all right? Like, you know, you can talk to me about anything. If anything's bothering you, I'm here. Now, what he turned to me and said to me, and this is why I come back to your point about normal, he said, Jesse, he said, I'm fine. I'm fine, bro. He said, I'm absolutely fine. But he said, so I said, well, why are you talking to me? Why do you think you need to go to some man or woman that you don't know? And he said, Jess, when I tell people things that we went through or things that I've gone through, he said, but if I tell it to you, you think it's normal, Jess.
Yeah.
And he said, when I tell it to the counsellor,
they're like,
she thinks it's crazy.
Half the things that we go through, people
that's
see.
What I'm trying to say.
He said, only now have I realised. And I looked and I said, you know what? Let me just shut my mouth and be quiet because I understand what he was saying. Like, you know, if he says to me, I'll be like, all right, but get on with it. I know it was tough when this happened or that happened and this situation happened there. And I've been with him in certain situations. And when I thought about it, and I said, yeah, he's right. I would just think it's normal. And be like, yeah, we survived.
Listen.
Whereas he was saying, you know what, things that happened when we were young, or he was young, affected him even
it's mad.
now when he's a big man.
I've had counselling and talking about things, though, it helps, bro. I think we have to normalise counselling from our community. But people think if you want to talk to someone, right.
But you know what it is? What is a person growing up has to know what the end goal is or what they're going to get out of it. There's no point, like you have to know, like when you're out here and you're just doing what you're doing, you know the gain is that you want money. You need to now have a different gain. If I'm going to become, you say you want someone to be a barrister, I need to know what is going to be the gain out of it. You can't say to somebody, oh yeah, just come and be a barrister and there's no one around to be a barrister. Like if he's around and he's driving the Q7 from being a barrister around all the time, you can't tell a 15 or 16-year-old kid that you got to drive a Peugeot 206 for 15 years.
I didn't drive for 15 years.
But you get what I'm saying? Or not like that. Obviously, I know you've done well. You just to clear that up.
No, I had the Purge for a lot longer than I'd anticipated. It was my first car.
Yeah.
And I had it for about 8 years, seven years.
Wow.
I thought I would get it and it would be, Trust me, the Purge only went all 6-7 years ago,
but now you've got big boy car and you're like you told me before we was moving out, when you said to me you was moving out, you're moving out to a proper place and that, it's all different now.
Yeah.
So a person can see that now, but what you have to put in, is anyone willing to put that graft in? Man, I'm not even willing to put that graft in for the money that they want to do now.
The thing is, there's varying degrees of success. So it's like we've been, again, we need to rejig what the perception of success is, because what happens is, again, it's reality. Not everyone in life is going to be a multi-millionaire, and this is what I mean. In our community, there's a lot put on, materialism,
100%,
and there's a lot put on. Okay, what success means? Success means money. Now,
absolutely.
You can hold down a regular job, for instance, and provide for your family and live a clean lifestyle. Be able to put your head on your pillow at night and not worry about police or roadmen coming to find you to try and rob you or whatever it might be, or to come and carry you off to prison. And that is success. Do you understand me? Depending on your circumstances. I'm not saying, and people might go, oh, well, you can say that you're a barrister, but no, 100%. I would much rather have a clean, healthy pound, and have peace of mind, because certain things are priceless in life. Two things for me that are priceless in life, and I've learned that through just living and experience, are freedom and peace of mind.
100%.
Now,
100%.
just because you're not a barrister or because you're not a footballer, doesn't mean you're unsuccessful. Do you understand me? Yeah. But again, the society we live in, the get it now, the get it fast society, what are you anyone of relevance because you're a footballer or because you've got this standing? That has to change. And I've so many people who I've got nothing but love and respect for, who aren't perhaps professional people, but have worked their way up from, for instance, working in Sainsbury's, and now the manager of Sainsbury's on a good wage, looking after their family. That's success. Do you understand me? It's not just, the man with the most money, or the man with who went and scored, got 20 England caps or whatever. Do you understand me? It's different.
No, that's but what that's if you change like I said, the dynamic of success. But that's not going to be able to be. We're not going to change.
No, but that's why we have to take ownership of it as a community and as people. That's what I'm saying. That we have to be reinforcing to these people, to these young people, young men, young women, that it's okay to get a normal job. It's okay to try and start somewhere.
Definitely.
And build your way up, rather than, go and change up your whole appearance, make sure you put that filter on and sit there with a can of Coke next to your head and hope they pay you 10 grand to do it because you've got 50,000 followers on Instagram or Twitter. Do you understand me? That's how it changes. We need to start doing it ourselves. Do you understand?
100%.
Yeah, just there's a question I wanted to ask. Obviously,
100%.
Like you growing up, you said, you grew up in East London. I'm not saying I'm of South London.
Yeah, please don't. Don't say that. I'm a South London.
He doesn't want to be bracketed.
Yeah, cool. You grew up in South London.
Even though it's the same type of area anyway, man.
Yeah. So you went to school in South and went to uni. Then, you wanted to be a barrister. You wanted to be a solicitor or barrister. So obviously, barrister. Obviously, that cost money, right? So I don't know whether your parents had it or whatever. How did you get through that? Because maybe that's why you was driving the Peugeot for 8 years.
Yeah, so the reality is, I went to school, but I went to grammar school. So I went to school it was in South-ish, but it's more in Surrey. So I went to school way.
Was that scholarship?
No, grammar school. It's 11 plus, you had to do a test to get in.
Okay.
And I went there and it was an hour-long journey from my house. So it wasn't a local thing, it was like 2 buses or a train and a bus or whatever, do you understand me? So it wasn't, like I didn't go to a school that I wanted to go to. I wanted to go to schools, certain local schools all my friends went to and everyone I knew was going to, but I didn't in the end. But when you talk about the finances, going to uni, I had to just get a student loan, like everybody else or most other people. And then when I went to do the bar, you can get scholarships. And this is important for people to know, you can get scholarships. I missed the deadline. I had some personal situations going on. So I had a bereavement in my family at the time, someone very close to me. And I missed the application, I missed the deadline for the application for the scholarships through my in. And I made inquiries to see if I could actually sort of go outside, and they said it was too late. And I understand that they have a process to go through, lots of people. But I searched high and low to literally secure funding. No, my parents didn't have it to give it to me. No one in my family had it to give it to me. It wanted 17 grand. for the course, and I'm 21 years old at the time. And then then you got to find somewhere to live, because to get through it, you have to be focused. You can't be in one foot in, one foot out. We'll have lots of people, certain people around you. You need to be focused. So in the end, I had to borrow the money from the bank. It was HSBC at the time. We're doing the professional studies.
So full 17 or more for your
more.
living?
So the interest rates plus to live, to help to live, it was more. So in the end, it was like, I think I borrowed about 24, 25 and had to pay back 30. Right, over, and loan payment started as soon as the course ended. So pretty much the course ends, and then 4 months later, 4 months later, I had to go and start paying £500.
That's a good question. Did you have a job then?
No, there was no guarantee of a job. There was no guarantee of getting pupillage or of getting a law firm. So the first job, and I'll say this straight, the first job I had coming out of uni, and this is how competitive it was coming out of law school. I got a job as a paralegal. So it's like someone who's like kind of nearly fully qualified, but just getting experience and things. And my job was 13 grand a year. Wow. That was it. Like 13 grand.
So you're willing to go for it. You're willing to go for a lot.
And I had to start paying. So I got that job in, I think it was like the October of following my passing the bar. And I had to start paying back in February, like so 3-4 months later, £500 a month. Now you can imagine that was half of my wage. But I always made sure that, and this is what I mean about hard working and putting it in. I always made sure, I said, you know what, this is a big man loan. This isn't a little student loan when you're working and earning a certain amount now. And I had to make sure, and I had to grind to make sure that I had that money to pay back that bank every single month. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then even after that, I was there for a little while and I got a pay rise. I was working hard. I got another little qualification that put me up to 16 grand. And then I was going around to police stations. And then I left there and I went somewhere else and I got 20 grand and so forth and so forth in 23, 27. But it was a process. The rest is obviously history. But do you understand me? It wasn't like, I just came out and snap bang. And there were some people that, when I was at law school, they came straight out and they had a job or like a pupillage at Chambers where they were getting like 60 grand.
Again, that's like, I think maybe where you grew up and the connection that you build, that your parents build.
Yeah, like that. Like two individuals that I think of who come to mind. One of them, their granddad was a judge. Yeah. The other one, his dad and his brother were barristers. Do you understand me? Yeah. And it was like they came out to I didn't have anyone like that or know anyone.
So when you walk into these places, as a do you feel away being a black man walking into these places? How do you feel? Do you feel
imposter syndrome?
Everyone suffers from that a little bit, but I think as you grow and you get
more
confident.
Explain what that is. What does that mean?
Imposter syndrome. He might be better explaining it because his wordings is better than mine.
You're used to talking because
what would you say
clearly and it makes
precise,
sense.
Yeah, what would you say an imposter syndrome is?
What is that?
Well, it's where basically you're in an environment which isn't familiar to yourself.
You don't
so
feel
start
like
to
you belong.
doubt yourself, and you start to maybe try and act differently or act a different way, or you start to doubt your credentials or have doubts about your background or whether you're good enough.
But it could you could have the reverse of that as well, which could be let me show them.
But everyone, even top QCs and top judges, at times have told me they've suffered from imposter syndrome, because people are people at the end of the day, right? So you might see someone think, they're right at the top of their game, but they might still get nervous. They might still think, I'm out of my depth here on certain occasions. But there is an element of that. Like everyone can. I've had it in the past where I think, what am I doing here? Am I really good enough to be here? Not so much now, but back in the early days, I thought, wow, like I'm walking through Temple. So can you imagine? Have you been to Temple before?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Wonderful. The historic buildings, or even if you go to Gray's Inn or Lincoln's Inn, the historic buildings, the church, the courtyard, the gardens, and it has even a certain smell to it. Do you know what I mean? Where you go in there and it's like a little subworld, and you're like, wow, this is history. This is a legal hub of London, and of the UK, and you think, wow, and you have little questions, but at the end of the day, you remember, like, I think when you've come from our backgrounds, one thing it does give you
what I was going to say
is thick skin and a level of determination. Like a steely determination.
Because you ain't getting there unless you work hard.
Yeah, like a durability where you say, I've had some crazy comments made to me.
That's what I was going to say.
And things like that. And at times I thought,
like what?
But then you get over it and you move forward.
Like what? What type of comments?
So there's one I talked about recently where I was on a residential weekend, so you have to go and do training, and you have to go away. It's like when you're doing the bar course, you go and you stay in like a residential halls for a weekend and you do advocacy training. and there was a QC. You know what QC is there? So like Queen's Council, and it was a really nice weekend, to be fair, lovely. And at the end, sort of the judges, so the experienced barristers, were having a bit of a laugh, and they put on a bit of a show for the students, and it was all, to show us how to look like normal people like us as well. And I was stood at the bar with a friend of mine who was also doing the bar course with me, and he is he's a lovely guy, great guy now, still practicing, very left wing, at one of the most left wing chambers. So he's all for civil liberties and justice and everything like that. And he was from South, but a very, very plush part of South London, and both of his parents were doctors. And one of the QCs who had been, making a fool of himself lightheartedly on the stage came up to us. He said, what did you think of it? How have you enjoyed the weekend? And we said, yeah, it was great. It's lovely. And he said, what did you think of the performance? And some of the talent on display, because a girl had played the violin or something, and one played the flute. Yeah. And he turned, he said, yeah, lovely. And he said, I thought you would have got up and done something. I thought you would have got up and done a rap or something.
Yeah, I hate it.
But they think they're funny, though. They think that's funny.
He didn't. It wasn't a joke. It was literally, he said it as straight face as anything. It wasn't.
And he believes that, though.
And it was a bit like, okay, so I'm one of
dance for me, boy, kind of thing.
I don't know if it's that, but
what do you mean? You don't know if it's dance for me, boy? So he came here. You're standing in the same place as another white barrister, or someone's trying to pass the bar, but he comes to you, be like, "Oh, I thought you was gonna go and perform."
But
what do you want you to
do a rap or something? Now,
it's the same thing, bro.
It's funny because you've got a similar reaction, right, to my friend. So my friend who was white, middle class. Yeah, I just sort of laughed it off, and
because you're uncomfortable. Because you're in a place full of white people, bro. Yeah, you're uncomfortable. I was
one of very few black people.
Yeah, so he's come up to you. You don't realize at the time because you're young. So when he's come up and he's said, "Oh yeah, I thought you would have performed."
It wasn't perform because
I thought you would have rapped, bro. It's the same thing. It's just different wording.
Rap is the connotation. No, the rap is a very specific connotation.
Of course it is, because he sees it as a gangster negative, as a negative thing.
But my friend,
exactly.
Yeah, no, that is. So if he said perform, it could have been anything. But the rap to me was more harmful because that was there you go.
You're saying based on
I look like a rapper. I must be, I look, young black guy. I probably can go and rap. Now my friend.
He probably wanted to buy some Charlie of you as well.
My
after
friend
that. They're the worst ones, bro.
So he could take it.
But my friend was livid. He was like, I literally stood there and I turned to him and his jaw literally hit the floor. And he turned and he said, "What? That is outrageous. No, we need to take this further. We need to do this." And I said, "Listen, just relax." I said, relax. And we went back to law school. And the money he was telling people, I can't believe this QC said to Jesse that he should do a rap or something. Can you imagine, the racism? He doesn't even realise the ignorance. And he was like, "No, Jesse, we should take it further. Anything you want to say, I'm going to support you." And I thought to myself, it was a typical middle class reaction, sort of privileged reaction, because can you imagine me at that point? Going,
I don't think you got mad enough.
No, I didn't. My career, I would not be sitting here as a barrister in front of you right now had I at that stage gone and made a big fuss.
No, but I understand not to make a big fuss though, because
what was
just I know you. Yeah, I know you're calm. You're a calm person. You don't let things affect you.
Yeah, exactly.
The first and second time, maybe the third time.
It just depends on your reaction.
Yeah, it depends on your reaction. You always you take things in and you kind of let it mellow for a bit, But your friend reacted correctly, bro.
Yeah, but it's easy for him as a white, middle class,
100%. That's true.
Young man.
That's
who's grown
also
up
true.
So we're lovely part of South London.
Yeah. So when I did say, do you have that thing where you walk in there? You do have it. Then.
No, I didn't at the time. You do sometimes
because you're not reacting how you want to react. Because you don't want. Because you don't. No, what's the truth?
You're watching your future.
The thing is, you say how I want to react. I don't really want to react like that because then I don't want to rise and show them their ignorant side because they expect it at times. So they're gonna go, "Yep, there you go."
But sometimes you got to show people your stereotype.
Sometimes you do.
Sometimes you got to show them the stereotype because a lot of the time people won't go the extra mile. If they won't though. A lot. If he felt that you might have reacted in a specific way, he might not. He might feel twice about that.
I was a student at the time. Not even started in his career. Yeah, he knew. Yeah, I could not react any way of any kind of rage or sensitive. And suddenly, I'm the one in the wrong. I'm the one who they're saying they're not sure if they can call me to the bar because of X, Y, and Z. Do you understand me?
You're playing the game,
bro. You know how scary.
You're playing the game.
I don't want to give what people might say a typical reaction and go, "Yep, there we go. Look, the South London
boy."
You
know how scary
look how angry he is, and I'm not.
Yeah, so you're playing the game. You're playing the game. You're playing the game. Yeah,
but it's just about.
But he gets away with it.
What happens though? Yeah, who's winning now? And that's what I'm saying. It's a long game, and this is where patience comes.
Yeah.
I could have reacted in a crazy way.
All right,
had
but
my
then
whole future cancelled. Everything I'd worked for at that point come to an end. Look, what I react and I.
Where does it stop then? Where does it stop
sorry.
then? All right. Let's imagine he said the N-word. Let's imagine he said the N-word.
Nah, but that's
Where does it
gone too
stop?
far. How's he gonna say?
Why?
He was never gonna say the N-word there.
Let's imagine he does. You still have to play the game.
No. I wouldn't have.
No.
I wouldn't have said.
So you would have given up. So what you're saying? What you're saying is you would have given up. Would you have given up? Would you have given up your whole career for the N-word? It's the same thing, though, isn't it?
I would have reacted in a way whereby I would have had to take it to the powers that be if he'd said that, because that would be crazy. I mean, now, and this is a problem with racism. Yeah, if someone says that, you know where you stand. If they call me that, oh, cool, I know where you stand. It's when it's more nuanced. So someone's saying, why don't you do a rap? Yeah, that's more nuanced than simply coming out and saying.
But do you think he's more ignorant though? By saying that.
A bit of both, and he
but so, do you think he was racist? Do you think he's more ignorant?
Listen, he probably had a bit to drink, and
But is that not scary? Is that not scary though? Because that's how the majority of those barristers and judges and QC think. So when young black boys or girls get in front of them, they just see us as like gangsters and rappers.
And this is what I'm saying. And at that time, like I said, I was younger at the time, so I was about 20. I would have been 21 at the time. But listen, you say that, right? That's how a lot of barristers and judges and people think. I'm at a set of chambers, for instance, where I'm confident. I mean, I don't know what everyone thinks in their private life, but I'm confident the strong majority, if not every single one of my members of chambers, do not think like that. Do you understand me? Because I'm in it now and I know how they are as people. So I speak to judges, people who sit as judges on a day-to-day basis, part-time judges or people who've gone off to become full-time judges. And they're wonderful people, but people that I know, my experiences, nobody thinks like that. Do you understand me? So it's getting better. And that's what I'm saying. And how it becomes better is by people like me not rising to a narky comment like that and going and showing them to South London and going, what, fam? Like, who you talking to? Like mid thing, what did you say? Like, and showing them that side. And holding it down.
But he's not going to change if no one corrects him, though. And it don't seem like people ever corrected him.
What you've got to realise is, with recent events over the last couple of years and even before, it's getting better.
These people can't change, bro.
They're
too old, they can't change, bro.
But what can happen is, the new generation coming through can definitely change. And
understand me?
And
that's the hope.
You've got to leave them. But I've got even... In my chambers, there's some, really senior members of chambers who are older gentlemen or whatever, and I know they're not like that. Whether they're just doing a very good job or whatever, they are wonderful. They've treated me with nothing but love, respect, and how you'd expect them to treat other human beings, white, black, or Asian. Do you understand me?
Yeah. Do you believe you got to work 5 times as hard?
I don't know if it's 5 times as hard, but you certainly have to work harder, or I had to work harder than a lot of my peers would have had to. And I think that's just something that's always been instilled within me. I've always had a really strong work ethic anyway. I don't like to go, we've got to work 5 times as hard, but I'm a black man and I'm aware of the fact that I'm a black man. So I don't sit there and go, no, it's all fine, we will treat. No, I don't believe that's true. I know I've had to work harder, to get to where I am. And I know I've had to, what people don't realise, I've had to go through a lot more than, say, someone who was always going to be a barrister. Went to private school from this knee high, then went on to maybe Oxford or Cambridge, and their mum was an architect and their dad has his own property company or whatever. Do you understand me? I knew it was always going to be different, but I was prepared to put in that work. And like I said, my mentality is one where it's never been a defeatist. Do you understand me? I always find I'm someone who looks for solutions as opposed to sit there and go, feel sorry for myself. I can't get out of South London. I can't get out.
He's basically taking the arrows in his back for the other people coming up.
Yeah, no, but do you understand exactly?
Yeah. That's basically what it is. That's do you know why? It's easy for us to say it sitting there, but it's probably a lot harder for him because he's in that scenario with a goal in mind. So if he's got his goal, he can't let anything stop him from that goal, which is what we're saying about people need a goal. If you've got your goal, then nothing's going to stop you achieving your goal. Because that's probably going to hurt him more, you achieving, you becoming a judge, for example, or you becoming that sitting on the same level as him. Yeah. That probably harm him a lot more.
You can't let sometimes, you can't, and look, I'm not perfect and I've let people or things take me out of my zone at times. Like you say, you can become emotional or things can really affect you. But at the same token, there was another QC now, this is what I mean, who really helped me, a white QC, who really helped me to give me that extra bit of belief and pushing myself to become what I've become or I'm becoming. Does that make sense? So he was my mentor, and he didn't just go, I'll be your mentor. And he was active. He went out of his way over and beyond to get me some work experience. He would talk to me. He looked at my CV. He looked at my applications. Does that make sense? And really was like, you know what, Jesse, you're unique and it's fantastic that you're unique. Don't be ashamed or shy away from your uniqueness. Embrace it. Does that make sense? And he's someone who come from a well-to-do family and whatnot, and he didn't think like how that other barrister did. And that's what I mean about people. We can't just tar them all with the same brush.
No, of course
they're
not.
all
No.
like that.
You tar them.
They can't do that with us.
No, but you
like,
tar them
you know,
with the
you
things
can't
they say, their behaviour,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
their actions.
Exactly,
So,
but it's on an individual basis, isn't
Yeah.
it? Until someone shows me otherwise, I'm going to give him a benefit of the doubt. You know, I can't walk into a courtroom and just think, oh, this is a racist bench, or this is a racist judge, or my opponent's racist, or the client.
No, I hear that.
Black people. Do you understand me? Or there's no point in doing it. Does that make sense?
yeah,
No,
for
I
sure.
hear
What's
that.
your next step though, Jess? Like, you know, you're a barrister. Like, how does it work? You're a barrister, then you become a QC, then you become a judge.
If you want to, you
Yeah.
can become a judge without becoming a QC.
So what's the
And
next?
you
Would,
can-
would the QC be your next step? Would the Queen's Counsel be your
I'm
next
miles
step?
away from that.
Yeah, but
you right now, but no, it depends.
But is that what you wanna
it's a
be,
long
though?
career. Not at this moment in time. No, I'll be
Yeah.
honest. It's not what I want. I don't want to.
What's the difference?
Yeah, what's the
a
difference between, if
So-
you can explain,
what
the
do you
barrister and the
mean?
QC?
So, all barristers that aren't QC are junior counsel.
Yeah.
Basically, so QC is senior counsel. So they're recognised in their field as being leading or at the top of their game in their particular specialism. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So to become a QC, they have to have been doing probably landmark cases or high profile cases.
Okay.
And for instance, whether it's murders or whether it's if you're a criminal barrister or whether it's cases that go into the Supreme Court in civil areas or whatever. Do you understand me? Or like
Yeah.
the High Court, and really sort of be leaders at the top of their game in a particular legal specialism.
Okay.
Yeah. So some people want to do that, but I know several barristers that could apply to be QCs, or could be or at QC level, but they don't want to be. Because it can restrict some of the work you're able to do, for instance.
Do all barristers, do they have to choose whether they want to be a defence or prosecutor, or like how does it
talking about
work?
criminal barristers?
Criminal barristers, yeah.
No, I mean, for instance, if you're in-house at the CPS, so the Crown Prosecution Service, and you're a barrister there, you'd only prosecute. That's just the way it would work out. But later in life, you could decide, actually, you know what, I want to do both, or I want to defend, or I just want to defend, and you could go to different chambers, which have a different
All
philosophy.
right, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a random question then. Would you? All right, your friend that had the Q7 and whatnot, he comes to you and he says he's guilty.
Yeah.
Would you defend him?
No, I can't. Yeah,
he
it's
knows
part
he's
of my
guilty.
code of conduct. Yeah, we can't.
You talking about morally?
No, part of my professional code of conduct.
Yeah, but if you talk, but I'm talking about behind the scenes.
No. What do you mean behind the scenes? Defending behind the
Like
scenes?
not behind. I mean,
Because
like,
if he's your friend, but he's
your
told
bedroom,
you,
he needs to be off, innit? He needs a barrister.
he needs a
I'm not
barrister
gonna
and he's been on
represent
it,
him.
yeah.
I'm not
Oh,
gonna
you would say
represent
no because you're guilty.
No, because I just wouldn't represent him.
Because he's your friend anyway.
Yeah, because
You could.
it's too close to home. That's part of the reason as well why I stopped doing criminal law as well. I had all kinds of people.
Yeah, I was gonna say, 'cause
coming to me.
I can get you a holy
Growing up in
I can get you a holy cases.
Exactly, coming to me and saying, and I remember I used to do police station representation, so I used to go and represent people at police stations, at the first instance, and there was even I remember I did and barristers don't do that. This is when I was on that first job I had earning 13k, so like 13,000 pounds, and when I started, I got this little accreditation to go to police stations and stuff. My salary went up to 16 grand, and I remember I represented a gang member at a court, at a police station in South London, and suddenly I had all his boys would call and say, yeah, we want him, because I probably look like the majority of them, and they think, they can relate to me, and they were like, right, you're a solicitor and you're black, and you're quite young, so, but I also had friends and one or two family members, or not family members, we leave it there, but who were asking me to represent them on certain things as well, and it's just too close to home. It compromises your professional integrity, and I helped where I could a few people in certain things, but now I just refer them on to other people. Does that make sense? I just don't. I don't do it anyway. I don't do criminal law, so I can't help, but I just refer them on to other solicitors or barristers. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
That's a
cool,
good
man.
answer. I was looking for a better Cole Sal,
So part of your professional conduct, you can't, on any case, put forward an argument or something to be untrue, an assertion, a submission that to be untrue. So you could represent someone, but you could not in court say to the jury at the end, for instance, he is innocent, he is not guilty, because it's not true. Do you understand me? You cannot mislead the court. It's a very, very serious obligation. Probably the most serious obligation. You cannot mislead the court.
Yeah, but that's all intricacies, and reading between the lines and all that, innit? You can.
Nah, it's just something you wouldn't risk ever. Like I said, I haven't worked this hard for my friend who's chosen to go that way. Hence why
for you to lose
put it
your
all on the line for him, for his stupidity. No, thank you. Like he had the Q7, I had the 206. He's in jail now. I'm here. Do you understand me? It's like there's just no point in risking it. You know, he could have been patient. He was such a talented guy. He could have done other things.
It's always the way, though.
Such a talented guy.
A lot of the man that you see,
he could have done other things. In his circumstances, to be honest, he had both mum and dad at home. He didn't live on the block. Do you understand me? He could have done other things, you know, but he just chose that way. His dad used to be like that, and his dad would say, "No, it's not the way, son. Like I've had to eat some humble pie, and I just want an honest living. Now you need to." And he chose the way he went. Do you understand me? And that's just one thing. I've got several friends who, like, this is just one particular example. As you know, I'm sure you guys, I've got several friends who I grew up with when we were young, who have, you know, it's got a little bit crazy for them, you know.
Yeah, that's
it's sad, man. Yeah, but tell us more about your football side now, Jess. You know what I mean? What are you doing now, and where are you looking to go with it?
Yeah, so like I said, it's 4D Sports Group, and it was myself and another barrister from a commercial barrister, a very, very good friend of mine. He's from North London, actually. He's from Edmonton.
Big him up, man. What's his
John
name?
Yianni. Yeah, he's my guy, and also one of my guys, Blaze Baluku, who's mentored a lot of the rappers and footballers you see in South London. He works with us as well. You can't go Croydon with him unless you want to stop every 5 minutes. Like literally, like he knows everyone. The whole of Croydon, like you come and gravitate to him. So them two, and then one of my other brothers and some other former footballers and things work with us. And we set this up, and it's funny. It's only been going for about 18 months to 2 years now, or maybe just a little over 2 years, and it's going well. To be fair, obviously you could always, things could always go better, just like in life in general. But it's going well, and it's ours. Does that make sense?
Exactly.
It's ownership for us is so important.
Yeah, it is important.
I remember when I spoke to, because when we left. Where we used to work, well, not left, but whatever happened. I went and I met with some big agencies. In fact, you were even going to set one up for me. Do you remember? You were going to set up a meeting. Big agency meeting and everything with me, and I decided, having met three or the big names, I don't need to name them, that, you know what, none of them do it how I want to do it or how we want to do it, and I don't think they care about a lot of these boys. I'll be real, like how they profess to. When they're making their money, they're all over them, they're there, they're bodyguards at games in the players' lounge after. When they're not, they're nowhere to be seen. So I just heard a lot of waffle, to be honest, from these agents and these managing directors of these big companies. And I remember I went and I met Andy Answer, and I went and I met with Andy, and he was saying, I told him like I'd met a few agencies and whatnot, and he was like, but he's like, you're ready now. He was like, this is about, it might be slower, it might be a little, it's going to be harder work, but you were ready now. He's like, what do you need these agencies for? What are they bringing for you? He's like, and
you're the one doing all the work. You're bringing the players. You're just taking it to them. They're taking more, majority of the money.
He said, Jess, it's about ownership. And obviously, Andy's a very good businessman, and he's a lovely fan. Big up Andy Answer as well. And he said, Jess,
big him up, man.
He said, Jess, you're ready. Like, you don't need these people now. What do you need them for? Like, go on your own. Like, anywhere I can help you, I'll help you. But in your thing, you're now ready. Look at the team you've got around you. What your skill set you have. And you know what? I think. I'm glad that I listened to him, because I was going to go that way anyway, but he just confirmed it when I sat down with him in his office, and he was just, me and my brother, I remember, and he was just saying, boys, do your own thing now, so it's going well. And like I said, we do things differently. Obviously, we've got the legal side, so we understand contracts and things like that, which is super important. But again, it's that thing of being patient. We care about the players. Do you understand me? Like, the players more than anything. So you know what football's like, Izzy? Everyone thinks football's easy. Football can be dark. And I always say,
dark, bro.
Football, when it smiles on you, it's the most beautiful game in the world. Like, it's wonderful. But when it doesn't, it's horrible. Like that's the reality of football. So
I felt like I love of football. Like, a few times, because like you said, it can eat you alive, man. Football's, like you said, it can be very dark, but football.
It's harsh, isn't it?
It puts you to some dark places. Like, a lot of people. No, seriously, bro. Some dark places.
Like you come out of it.
Yeah, bro. Like 100%. Like a lot of people are still going through it.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people who retired, who come out the game, they're still struggling, bro. You know what I mean? And there's not enough help. And big up to the team. Who's which team? Is it Palace?
Palace have just decided that they've got an aftercare program.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh yeah. I see that.
It's funny because
I see that.
Like I said, it's like you say, you know the game, but sometimes these youngsters as well, they get blinded by these flashing lights. So an agent will go, we look after this player or whatever, and they think, they're going to look after me. They don't really care about you. You're not that player, so they can't do anything for you. Do you understand me? But it's and then you get released and you're calling them and they're not picking up your calls, they're not returning your calls. You understand me? We care about the boys. Like any player that we work with.
Yeah, for the big companies, just like about the plus and
so
minuses.
some fantastic big companies. I'm not saying there's some fantastic companies, but and even us, we've had some players that we were close to signing that would have changed the game for us in terms of big players, and it hasn't worked out. But again, my mentality isn't then you sit there saying, okay, I'm going to pack it, and I just say, okay, get the next one, and we move and we just continue to work hard.
Yeah.
You know, so and it's funny what you say about Palace, right? I had a friend who was at Palace, and he was at Palace till he was 19. And, you know, I like Palace. So it was my local club. I know a lot of people at Palace, you know, good club, etc. And I just moved away from Palace in the January window to League One. 22 years old, a centre-back. You know, he just made his league debut, which is brilliant for him and us as well. Do you know what I mean? Because it's about helping these boys achieve their dreams if that's what they want to do. And, I mean, he made his debut against Sunderland, which is poetic, because 6 months ago he was playing against Sunderland in the PL2 at Sellers Park in the playoff final. And then he made his full debut against Ipswich in front of 20,000 people, which is amazing for him. And that's what, like, when I saw that, it just fills me with joy, because that's what I took it from non-league. I took it from non-league to Palace to into the league now. You understand? But my friend who was at Palace when we were younger got released at about 19, and within 6 months he was in jail. So it's so important to have that aftercare. And I think, again, look at where Palace is situated, South London. It's a South London club. So a lot of the boys who come through Palace are from like where we come from. Yeah. So, you know, when it doesn't go well, and it's a precious responsibility, a lot of these players think it's a way to change their family's whole life.
Yeah,
and
listen,
when it doesn't
that's
happen,
all you've known.
And it is.
That's all you've known. From a schoolboy, that's all you've known is football. There's nothing else. So when they just like, they love you, you're in there, they love you, they're showing you, they're giving you everything you need. As soon as they don't need you no more, they just throw you out there to the wolves, bro. And you don't know where to turn, bro. Because you don't know anything else. Yeah. So you're like, what do I do now? Yeah. So like, you know what I mean? It's unfortunate, but you know, I hope the rest of the clubs follow suit.
They do, because it's about balance. Because I mean, I heard a negative argument from another agent the other day, and he was saying, "Oh well, you know, funny that Palace are doing that because it shows they don't have much faith in their academy or their boys coming through." And I said, no. I said, you got to look at it another way. Not everyone, and this is what I mean about certain agencies will sell you dreams. The reality is you know it. Not everyone is going to make it at all. And certainly everyone isn't going to make it at the top level. Yeah. You understand me? And if you played for Palace in the Premier League and you signed a 4 or 5 year contract, if you're clever, you'll probably be set for a good amount of time or for life, if you know, depending on the level of contract,
the wages. Like,
depending on the way. But if you sign at I don't know, say a League 2 team, I'm not going to name A1 or League 1, League 2, you could play football. And if you don't get that big move, you're going to have to work after. Because you're going to have to
even Championship.
And
people don't understand, because like most footballers live like
way beyond their means.
Yeah, way beyond their means. And like, say you're getting 10 grand a week, yeah? You're spending 12.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you have a car, you have a mortgage, you have your girl's car, you have your mum's car, you have your brother's car. You know what I mean? You got your mum's rent.
Bedrooms.
Yeah, and you look after your boys. You go out, you're spending like, you know what I mean, 2-3 grand twice a week on a night out. That money is gone, bro. You're spending because you know it's coming each month.
Yeah.
So each month for 5 years, you're like, no, it's cool. Like, it's cool. Your 5 years done. Like, you're not as good anymore. They're not giving you a new contract, right? The money's not coming in. And then you still have to pay your mortgage. You still have to pay your car. You still have to pay your mum's car, your sister's car, your brother's car. So everything's coming out, but nothing's going in, right? And then people start getting, the depression kicks in. They're like, what am I going to do? Like, you know what I mean? It's crazy.
No job is going to pay you that.
No job is going to pay you that.
You know what I mean? No job's going to pay you that. Now you're going to go back to, now you're going to call your bedroom.
If you're lucky enough to get a job that's like 50 grand a year, that's an amazing wages. But not for, he's on 10 grand a week. But now he's looking at...
And you're getting paid, because I didn't even know footballers used to get paid monthly. I know that now.
Yeah.
I didn't know they get paid monthly. They get big lump sum.
Big lump sums monthly.
So you get a big... Look at him smiling. Look at his glory. Look at his glory days.
I'm taking it. Like, it's coming in. You're like, oh, right.
You get a big lump sum at the end of the month,
bro,
and then you're thinking,
because you're thinking, you're going Vegas at the end of the year, then Miami. Then like, it's cool.
And even with injuries, even like most jobs, you get holiday pay. This that with football, you still get your wage.
You get your wage, bro.
Injuries, you still get your wage.
End of the season, you get 6 weeks off. You get your wages.
Still getting paid.
Still get your wages.
You still get
But that's what I mean. It's exactly as you said. Is people. And especially when you haven't come from money, you see it suddenly, you start moving mad. You know, you start moving absolutely crazy, and you're spending money. You're living beyond your means now. Your lifestyle changes as your money increases. Your lifestyle changes.
Yeah,
exactly.
And people again,
exactly,
it becomes a competition. Like they don't watch each other. Like I see all these young footballers. They all post of these pictures in these Balmain jeans or whatever, and these stupid little.
It drives me mad though, because you know
what?
what?
And then they got their friend commenting, and they post one similar, and they want to show, and it's not what. Remember when we wanted to play football? Obviously, we always knew that money could be a factor in football. You played it originally for love, didn't you? It was like we just love the game. We just love to play. Yeah. Suddenly now you got. I was speaking to a Premier League player the other day, and he said to me, and he's very well known, very urban, and he said to me, Jess, he said, every time I go to a school or whatever, I'll give a little talk or something where there's some young people, first question I get asked is either about my house or my car. And he said the kids could be as young as 6 or 7. Yeah, and they're asking, and that's what I mean. It's all materialism now. So when you're in that world,
that's what they
you've
see.
got to live that football world. You know, you can't just come in with, I don't know, I'm wearing like
Levi's
jeans or whatever. They want you to come in with them.
They want you to live up to the reputation.
Bro, it's always been like that though, bro. But I see the kids now. I want you to be like, but you know what I mean? Being a mentor for me is like, I want you to learn from my mistakes. Yeah, so it's important with people like you. Like you're talking about the spending. Like hopefully you're talking to your players about, you know what I mean, their money and their spending. Hopefully you're talking to them about that. But football has always been that way, about fashion and things like that. Players are spending £1,000 on a pair of trainers. I couldn't imagine that now. Like, you know what I mean? Like I could really, if I had a son or whatever, become a footballer, like there's no way I'm letting him spend £1,000 on trainers.
The worst thing is some of them are horrible as well, but it's the brand.
But it's the brand, so they're wearing it. They're spending like even to go to training. To go to training, them like the cost of their outfit is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just for training. Every day they have to wear something different. Different pair of trainers, like 5 times.
Because you know what it is? They've got nothing else to do.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's
what it is. They got nothing else to do. That is. They got nothing else to do, brother. If you had other things to do, or like you got some people that got other things to do, and they're like even people like Kante, who's mad humble. He drives he drives his little mini or stuff like that. You got like some. But they're like real African back home, that they really come from the deep slums. You got then you get some other guys.
True, though.
It's true. That's what they say. You get and then you got some other people that are just not. But obviously, where like you say, social media and stuff like that, you got to live up to expectation, innit?
100%.
No, but just man, financial literacy is important, man. Please help your players. Talk to them about money, because you know that's when they get it. Let them, they have to keep hold of it.
We can figure out, and like I said, a lot of our players are like family. Like, in fact, most of them are like family. Do you understand me? So it's not just a point where we don't just sign. We ain't got the resources all the time, or we never wanted to operate just try and flinging it out and hope one sticks. Do you understand me? We're very selective about who we work with, and we work with them and their families. So we care about these boys. Do you understand me? And it's really important that and even in advising them on some of the moves and the transfers and things like that. It's not just, sometimes you get an agent that's just desperate to move a young boy to a big club or whatever because they think, they're going to make money. No, we have to take it in board what the player is at, where he is at the moment. Sometimes a big move might be better for him younger. It might not be. Do you understand me? But you actually have to consider it rather than just your pound note. And because of where we are as a company, and because of, like I said, my profession, obviously being a barrister as well, and John's profession being a barrister, we can afford to take our time and not just do stupid things for a pound note. Does that make sense? So that's
definitely.
Really
before we finish though, Jess, I want to say to you, I hope your company does this. Yeah, there's a lot of situation that parents don't understand and the players don't understand. Yeah, say with the contract aspect of it. Okay, say you move a player, right, and the club pays the agency fee, right? Say it's a big agency fee. Yeah. Like say you move and the fee's 500 grand.
Yeah.
Right. So the club pays it, right? Then later on the player gets a big tax bill. They didn't realize that was coming. Yeah, because a lot of agents don't tell this to the players or their parents. So when the player gets this big lump sum of tax bill that they have to pay, right? Because it's some benefit in kind. Yeah, it's a benefit in kind.
PD.
Exactly. Yeah. So I hope you explain to your players that look, this is coming. Save up for it. Like put away for it, because a lot of the agency don't let these players know, because it happens to a lot of people, and that's how a lot of them lose players like that as well. Yeah. But you got to remember where we were coming from. One of the first things I learned at the company that we both worked at, as I was like learning the ropes and whatnot, is that very point, and that is something that we explain religiously to our players.
Do you understand me? We can't have any nasty surprises like that. Do you understand? Because that would be.
That's a horrible.
Do you understand it, D, what we was trying to say?
Yeah,
So
I understand it. That's a horrible surprise,
though. You have to be transparent, and that's what I mean. And this is why I started my own company, because I know what my ethics are about. I know what my principles are about. I know what my morals are about. Yeah, I'm not going to be sleeping easy at night if I know I'm ripping people off, or I'm just taking a mick, or I'm just getting them to sign anything and they got a huge tax bill coming and I'm sitting there saying, well, I'm taking.
So it could be like 100 grand that just hits them that month. Yeah.
But what we do is, as I said, integrity, transparency, and an ethical code is what this company is built on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we don't do surprises. We don't do half truths. We just tell the truth, and we just move honestly with our clients and their families in all aspects.
No, that's good.
No, I respect that. No, man, that's what.
I appreciate that, bro. No.
Jesse Cook. Make sure you don't go.
Jesse Cook, yeah, not Crook.
Make sure you go support him and follow him and
like I Jesse, you got any social media for people to?
At 4D Sports Group.
At 4D Sports.
Instagram and Twitter. No personal social media. You might find me on LinkedIn, but I don't do the whole social media.
Barrister Chambers.
Yeah.
What's your chambers you at?
Yeah, I'm at Pump Court Chambers.
Pump Court Chambers.
Pump Court, based in Temple, and it's a very well regarded leading set of chambers in London.
Yeah.
No, big yourself up.
Yeah, nice one, Jess. Appreciate you coming to speak to us.
A pleasure. A pleasure.
Guy, man.